This is the brand new Range Rover Sport, and we're here to find out about why this is possibly the most famous car in Santon. Okay guys, now that we're inside the brand new Range Rover Sport, it is unbelievable in here. They have really stepped up from the previous generation, because in the previous generation you had two screens right here. You had the information system right here, and down here would usually be like your climate controls and most of your other vehicle functions. But now they've incorporated a lot of the functions into the screen right here. So as you can see, you have your media, you have your Bluetooth, you have everything that you need. Even have weight sensing. Since this is a Range Rover after all, it needs to know how much water it can actually tread through until you eventually drown. So as it's just loading over there, wow, it has a maximum wade depth of 0.77 meters. That is really deep. So you can be rest assured that this can pretty much go through the entire continent worry-free when it's new. But moving here, there's a lot less buttons than the previous generation, because in the previous generation a lot of controls were actually in the form of plastic, but now they've incorporated everything into a touch display. So like here's your gear shifter right here. Not much as I can say, but it's a really small gear shifter than the previous generation. It's very small. Then I just love the clicks of this right here. Well, not really any clicks, but as you twist and turn it, you can barely even hear it. You can feel it, but you can barely even heard it. Anyway, after that, most of the functions I actually want to talk about is here in the driver's display, because this, and I've turned up the AC for some unknown reason. If I can turn that off, we'll get to it. But in here in the driver's display, in the gauge cluster, you have your speedo right there, and you have your speedometer going to about 300 kilometers an hour. Although in a big Range Rover like this, I don't think you'll be going past 220. But then again, it's a Range Rover, it might go 260. And everything else has been really incorporated into a touch display. So like here would be your media and everything. You even have your hands free right there. Turn off AC. Perfect segue. And then here is your driver's adaptive cruise control, so like for following your distance in a car in front, and pretty much all your safety features for driving this car on autopilot. But this is a marvelous interior. I mean, the tech is honestly such an upgrade. And also talking about the feel, the quality, fit and finish, it is immaculate, utterly immaculate. Although Range Rover never disappoints with quality, it is unbelievable in here. It is really unbelievable. And as you do, you know, you have your window controls and your mirror controls are right here. And funny thing is, the function right here is usually where Mercedes puts their seat control. So it's kind of interesting that Range Rover is doing the same, and it actually shows up as you move your seat back and forth. Or yeah, this is really an innovative car. This I'm running out of words because it is so unbelievable in here that Range Rover not so long ago weren't making cars that were even up to par with something like Mercedes or BMW, but now they are really going at it, competing with brands like Bentley. So now let me actually pass it over to Matteo to tell you about how it is from the passenger side of the car.
Now we are in the passenger side of the front end of this beautiful machine, which is an absolute beast at the same time. And I'd just like to start off again by saying the absolute finish on this car is immaculate. Range Rover really has changed their RR to trying to get to Rolls-Royce standards with this. They really looked at the Cullinan and thought, let me take a note out of their book and put it into the new Range Rover Sport. And it is really just absolutely fabulous. You have all this nice finishing along here. Obviously leather for your grab handles. You have soft touch leather there with this really weird, I don't even know what texture you'd call this. It's almost like a plush carpety type of style texture. You have another wood style texture over here with more soft touch. And what we have found is there's a lot of space inside this car. So you've got a big deep dish over here. Then you press this button and you've got one glove box inside over here with quite a bit of space. You can put that back up, and you press this button and you have another glove box. And then moving on to underneath here, there actually is even more space. I'll shine a light here quickly just so you guys can see, but there's even more space in there. And then moving to this side here, you have two cup holders. And then the most weird thing about the car is looking at this glove box that doesn't look deep unless you put your arm inside and actually you can fit about 2 wine bottles inside of this thing. It just keeps going and keeps going, and there's my hand flat down, and it's literally up to my elbow. So nonetheless, this car has enough storage that you could comfortably keep groceries inside over here, not just in the boot. And we'll get to that boot side now after we go through a bit more of the front. But the seats here are really comfortable. They're quite a simple design. There's not much stitching or anything like that, but they really thick, they plush, they're very comfortable, especially up to those Range Rover standards that we all have now because of what Range Rover has made for themselves, and actually exceeding that in many ways. Everything on this car has just been done that slight bit extra, and has really just scratched a bit of an itch for someone who doesn't want to go to the Rolls-Royce territory, but also wants something higher than that of some of the German competitors, let's say like a GLS or like an X7 or something in the range of that. And this really will scratch that itch of being that in-betweener car that punches quite a bit above what it's known for. So yeah, let's move to the back end and see what it's like in the back. So we are now in the back end of the Range Rover Sport, the newer generation of it, and I'd just like to say again, it's basically the same as in the front, just as comfortable, just as well finished. You have all this nice stitching here, a lot of airing. Obviously the seats are done really well to this Range Rover standard. You have your little bit of spacing in the back over here for your armrest and all your other simple controls and nodules. You've got your cup holders, and obviously even more space to keep more stuff. Not like you were missing out on any space, but you do have more of it. And I'd just like to touch how plush and softly everything here is finished. It is super comfortable. It is, in my opinion, higher than any GLS or X-Class car I've driven in and or sat in general. This car is really just finished so well. You've obviously got your nice sunroom, which gives you a lot of lighting inside the car, which actually benefits us. You guys can see us a whole lot better inside of it because of this. You've got your little bit of lighting, again, more leather door handles. You have these, but I would wish that these were automatic, as even in some of the older generations Q7s you could get these automatic. But obviously the newer gen cars, everything's optioned. I mean, look at Porsche is heading the way of optioning wheels onto their cars, and if you don't, you're going to get hubcaps on your Porsche. So optioning has become a big thing, and I'm pretty sure you can option this to be electric. But again, you have this really flush carpeting. I don't know what to describe it as, but I can just say it is quite nice. It's a different texture, something unique for the car. And then everything is just, there's no noise, everything is solid, everything is quiet, everything's fluent. I mean, let's see if we can even listen, if you guys would hear. There's a very light noise, but when you're speaking, you don't actually notice it. And I'd just like to add one last thing. This car's very quiet inside, like super quiet. They've really gone the extra step. Now we're going to close the door just so you can hear, as all the sound disappears, and it just becomes you, yourself, and the car. And everything about that really makes me excited for what this car is bringing forward to the table. And I can really understand why all the Santon moms, or Santon people in general in South Africa, really enjoy the new Range Rover Sport. Also just want to touch on, Range Rover now has automated seating position changing for the back seats. I mean, I only found this by mistake now. Looking at it, looked quite weird against the door, but I mean, who thinks of that? And we're actually going to head to the back end to show you the space in the back, and there's another fun party trick which we found in the back. We'll get to that now.
We reached the back end of this car. I actually want to speak about the space in here. So as you can see, it's not really a massive opening and a massive space, because for that they really left it for the SV Autobiography big luxury Range Rover. But this does honestly compete with like something like an X7 or some of the other cars in that class, like a GLE as well. So in here, you know, it's very nice. The materials are very good and very upmarket and upscale. And you do get your spare spare wheel, which the rim right here is 23 inches in diameter. I had to swallow my saliva because that is a massive wheel right there. And curbing it, I do not know what it would cost to try and fix it. And so another party trick I actually wanted to show you was this. So you can actually lower the seats right here via these two buttons. So for all you lazy Range Rover people who don't like picking up or putting down the seats, you can just lower them right here. And the other neat thing is, because in most other SUVs, something like a Land Cruiser, you actually have to pull it. So at least with this one, you can just do this in the opposite direction. So as they keep coming back, now that is very, very cool. And another thing actually I wanted to speak about was the styling. So if we actually close here, when the new Sport actually came out, to me it looked more like an evolution rather than an entire revolution, because in the previous generation it was already a big car and everything was big on it. But with this one, they really like squished everything together in a way like it could look more sporty, look more elegant, you know, fly a bit under the radar. But I actually love it because it looks better like this. In the previous generation, it was a bit too much in your face. So in this generation, especially in this color is stunning. I don't know what kind of blue it is. It might be like Skyfall blue or some other high-tech blue that Range Rover will charge you a lot of money for. But if I was buying this car, I'd honestly have it in this particular color. So now let's actually speak about what's under the bonnet.
Now at possibly, as we always say, some of the best part of the car, which is the motor that drives it. But I'd just like to start off at how high this actual front end is. I mean, I'm not the shortest guy, I am the average height from where we are in South Africa over here. But this car is absolutely massive, and I'd like to just say, while Eugene was covering that back end of the car, you'd need to be very tall to get luggage actually into the car, because the back end of the car is just as high as the front end, which may be a problem if you are of the shorter moms that drive these bigger Range Rovers. So you might need a step to just help you in, or get your driver to just help you put your stuff in. But now let's get to the important details. So this is the diesel of the Sport range. It is a 3 liter, well 2.99, but it is a 3 liter V6 diesel. It's making 188 kilowatts and 600 newton meters of torque. Obviously with all-wheel drive, 8-speed gearbox, automatic. The motor is solid. I have driven the previous generation Sport with a similar diesel, and it does get going very quickly, and you can get rid of those polo drivers that are irritating you, or any sort of irritations that you have. The car is quiet, the car is comfortable, but the motor is strong as well.
We've reached the end of this wonderful review. I really have just a couple things to say. Number one, I really love the styling of this car. It's a very beautiful car. Range Rover actually did a very good job by styling this car. Unlike most manufacturers today where they're too enthusiastic, I'm gonna use the right words, a bit too enthusiastic. But this, honestly, they killed it with the styling. Number two, I think for the price, you really are getting a lot, because with the technology inside, the styling outside, and a relatively powerful engine, you really are getting a lot for your money. I think it's a bit better than something like an X5 or an X7 even, or even a GLE. Maybe not to the point of a Bentayga, but that's pushing it a bit. If you guys actually like this review, give us a like, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, because pretty soon we actually might get the chance to drive this car. So thanks again, bye bye.